Abortion, gun violence, the global refugee crisis and the degradation of the Great Lakes were one of the topics of novels honored Friday in the 38th annual Los Angeles Times Book Prizes.
The awards have been presented at USC's Bovard Auditorium on the eve of this two-day LA Times Festival of Books, which will comprise over 500 authors, musicians, chefs and artists. The service, hosted by Times book editor Caroline Kellogg, acknowledged 11 literary works published last year by established authors and emerging voices.
Novelist Mohsin Hamid won the Knights Fiction Prize for Exit West, his novel about two refugees seeking to escape the violence in their homeland. Reporter Dan Egan picked up the History Prize for The Death and Life of the Great Lakes, which spells out the harm done to the ecosystem of North America's Great Lakes.
Newspapers are more important than we know, and they're in great peril, he told the audience.
Jason Reynolds won the prize for young adult literature for Long Way Down, about a 15-year-old with a gun who is deciding whether to exact revenge. And Joyce Carol Oates received the mystery/thriller prize for her A Book of American Martyrs, which centers on two men, an abortion provider and the man who murders him, and the fallout from that crime.
In its review, The Times called Oates' novel painful and demanding and sometimes nihilistic. But in her remarks Friday, the author said the book ends on a somewhat upbeat note.
"I see real faith and hope in the next generation," she told the audience. "I had no idea that we would be in this sort of a youth revolution."
Among the other winners were Nancy MacLean, who received the prize for Current Interest for Democracy in Chains, The Deep History of the Radical Right's Stealth Plan for America, Laura Dasso Walls, who took the Biography Prize for her book Henry David Thoreau, A Life, and Robert M. Sapolsky, who received the Science and Technology Award for Behave, The Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst.
The Art Seidenbaum Award for First Fiction went to Jenny Zhang for Sour Heart, a collection of stories about Chinese-American girls growing up in New York City. The Poetry Prize was awarded to Patricia Smith, whose collection Incendiary Art Poems examines maternal grief and the brutal murder of Emmett Till.
Smith thanked her father, who was part of the Great Migration from Arkansas to Chicago, for teaching her the tradition of the back porch.
The award for graphic novel/comics went to the cartoonist Leslie Stein for her book Present. The ceremony also honored Benjamin Taylor, winner of the Christopher Isherwood Prize for autobiographical prose. His memoir, The Hue and Cry at Our House, A Year Remembered, drew from Taylor's memories as an 11-year-old boy who met John F. Kennedy in Fort Worth, just hours before an assassin changed the course of a nation.
Los Angeles novelist John Rechy, a first-generation Mexican-American who has chronicled gay life in America, received the Robert Kirsch Award for Lifetime Achievement. The 87-year-old novelist reflected on the extraordinarily negative review his first novel, published in 1963, received from Kirsch, then a reviewer for The Times. Kirsch so disliked City of Night, Rechy's story about the meanderings of a gay male prostitute through the back alleys and dark streets of America, that he wouldn't call it a novel, referring to it instead as a thing.